The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Welcome to the Local Spin. I'm Lou Custodi, and this is where we go inside the minds of Western New York's most creative visionaries. And today we have a true visionary, and you're going to love this show. I've been waiting for this for a very, very long time. Special guest today is Jimmy Moses. Hello, Jimmy, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Lou. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy, and I've been waiting to talk to you for a very, very long time. But the thing about this is this podcast was set up to give people in the arts a platform to talk about what they do, whether they were, let's say, in fine arts, whether they were in theater arts, whether they were in literary arts, music, whatever they did.
Sure.
But with you, we've got an awful lot to unpack. We've got an educator, we've got a theater actor, a singer. Do you play any instruments too?
Piano.
Piano, okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay. And a medium.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's an awful lot to talk here about with you here today. So, I think the best place to start is how we got to know each other, and that was through recent production. It's about 18 months ago now, believe it or not, about a year and a half. And we did Beautiful, the Carole King musical together, and you played opposite my daughter, Christina. Yeah. She was Carole King, and you were Jerry Goffin, right? The tortured lyricist first husband of Carole King, right?
I loved it so much.
And you did such a great job with that role.
Thank you.
I'll tell you,
Thank you.
It's funny is when you're part of a show, you get to see it over and over and over in all different aspects. So what we did was so little compared to what you guys were doing. We were always out in the audience just watching it. I never got tired of seeing the show.
I never got tired of doing it, but it's funny, like we had the mad dash. Act 1 was the crazy, because you're watching, I think Act 1 in particular is like you're really zooming through those decades. So it's the 50s, 60s, and I think we get into the 70s by that, right? I think by that point. And then, so you're seeing the clothing rapidly change. And then finally I had like one break in Act 2, and that was when, Carol finds them, and then she goes off to do Tapestry. So that was always my moment. I would sneak out and I would watch You've Got a Friend, but up until then it was like boom, 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 boom.
That's
boom.
right.
So we were
and
like,
that thing went at a real fast pace.
It was so fast.
There was a lot of different things happening in there. That's a very, very unique show too. I don't know too many shows that are actually like that.
My favorite part about it was watching the audience unpack it every night, because like they know these songs, but I feel like they didn't know she necessarily wrote all of them.
Right.
So, when, or even like, I feel like people I don't think recognize that they wrote On the Roof.
Right.
And so when you're, when Christina and I were out there and it just comes out of nowhere, you could hear people like melt. They're like, oh. And so that was a really special experience, was to share Carol's artistry with people and really teach them like, no, she wrote this, she wrote this, all while juggling. I feel like that musical for me kind of sets the blueprint for a good jukebox musical.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
And the thing about it is the actors. I think you had one of the best ensemble casts for main characters that I've seen locally.
Yes.
And they got so mad at you as Jerry Goffin. I remember every night when that one scene, you know what it is, when she kind of catches you with with the other girl, and I could hear the gasps all around me. It was, and I just sit there and I would be in the audience, right, and just kind of like laugh at it, because every night it got worse and worse and worse, because you guys were fine tuning the show.
Oh yeah,
and they got so mad at you. Oh my God,
I have goosebumps talking about it, because I remember one night in particular. Christina and I were acutely aware. We're like, people in the audience there are people who've gone through this, because I'll never forget at the very end too. So the first time is the kiss. You could hear people like hoot and holler, and then the end of Act 1 where he's like, I'm not happy. I want basically an open marriage, and then it goes into the cheating, but then to land the plane at the end when he comes out and there's no conditions. He just says, I'm sorry. And again, you could hear people kind of let out that exhale of like, okay, maybe he's not, this villain. And the way I feel like, not to ramble, but I feel like the way Carole King was so specific, because I know there were a lot of workshops going into that show about, she kept saying like, I don't want Jerry vilified.
Right.
She's like, I want a redemptive arc.
She still had a place in her heart for him.
Sure.
She really did. And you could see the torture that man put her through.
Oh,
She just kept coming back and saying, okay, well, maybe now we can go on. Maybe now we can be just a little family, and so on and so forth. So it really showed her life. But you guys did such a great job with that. I swear to you, I'll be in the grocery store and people will come up to me and start talking about that show.
Really?
As if it's still going on.
It's still running.
So, well, no, it's not doing it anymore. Oh, let me know when they're doing it again. I want to go see it again. I said, all right, I'll let you know.
I'm telling you, let's do it again.
Oh, that was really something. Yeah. So anyway, that's where we got a chance to meet each other, and I truly enjoyed it. But let's get back to your upbringing a little bit. Were you always in the arts ever since you were a youngster? No?
No, I didn't start until high school, freshman year.
Really? And what did you start doing? Did you start in theater? Did you start singing or playing piano? What did you do?
Piano was early, so I didn't realize, and Christina and I have talked about it, like, as a kid, you don't know what perfect pitch is, and I didn't realize that I had perfect pitch.
There you go.
Because I had a little keyboard, and I remembered I taught myself. I figured out the notes because in Phantom of the Opera, that overture, those chromatics, it's like they do it in every key. And I kept going, I think that's B flat, or I think that's an A. And I remembered in music class in like 6th grade, the teacher just played a note and she was like, well, what is this? And I went, that's the Phantom thing at the end of the entr'acte of Act 2. That's an E. And I kept getting it right. And she pulled me aside. She's like, this isn't really common.
Right.
And,
not at all.
So I was like, it was really neat because I had done sports. Didn't like it, but I did it to stay busy. And so to have somebody take an interest in and recognize abilities in you that I don't think I had recognized in myself yet was really powerful. So that freshman year of high school, they had announced that they were doing Evita, and it was just such a cool choice for a high school, And so I went in, I auditioned, and I got Magaldi. Ava's like lever that kind of she uses to get up to like the next rung of the ladder, and the bug, the bug, it bit at that point, and here we are, 38,
right. And you're still doing it, which I think is wonderful.
Yes, now so that was the first show in 17 years, because the last time I had done one was in college. It was it was Rent. And then I direct at my school at City Honors.
So that was the first show you did in 17 years?
17.
I think that was the first show that Christina did in over 20 years.
I think so, because we talked about it at the closing night speech.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
So both of you did the same thing.
We kept finding all of these commonalities from our experience of going there were reasons. We're like, I think I'm good. I think I'm ready to take a break. And, because with teaching, it's all consuming, and you're... That alone, it kind of feels like sometimes teaching feels like a performance in itself. Mm-hmm. So I feel like those skills transfer so well. So I was like, okay, I'm not on this stage anymore, but I'm doing 5 shows a day.
I would agree with that.
In room 118, and
right. And where are you now teaching?
City Honors. So
City Honors.
Buffalo Public. So it's again public school. They test to get in, and so if I'm not mistaken, it's that and Olmsted are the two. I think, please don't quote me, like the criterion based to get in terms of high honors. And yeah, this is year 16.
Boy, how fast it goes, huh?
It goes, yeah.
And are you teaching theater there, or is it English and theater? How's it work?
So yeah, I coordinate. So similar to AP, so advanced placement, we have a program called the IB, so International Baccalaureate. So I coordinate the IB program for grades 5 through 10. So I'm considered a TOSA, so a teacher on special assignment. So every other day, it's an office day. And then from when I'm not, I teach a philosophy course to my juniors. And then I direct the musicals after school. Yeah.
Huh.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like tired
lot.
now.
Everything comes full circle right back.
Yes. Everything's kind of woven into the same tapestry, so to speak. Yeah. It's really neat.
Not to bring back...
Carole King.
There you go. Well, I just think it's amazing. And... Now that you told me that you have perfect pitch, that answers the question of how you sing so well, because
Oh,
I was
thank you.
I was just sitting there saying, man. And the one song that I thought you did everything well. I'm going to be honest with you, but Up on the Roof, the way you phrased it, I loved it. I just loved the way you phrased it when you did it.
That was the first time. Yeah, I have to say too, I feel like coming back into theater as an adult, the amount of access that I felt like I had that I didn't have at 20. You know, at 30, at the time I just turned 37. That access so much greater than. So I remember the first time we had done the meltdown scene, and the tears just started coming, and people are like, "How are you doing this?" I'm like, it just feels so normal right now. I was like, wow, I'm like, I had a rough day. I'm like, I can get this out now, so I don't have to get it out in the car ride home somehow.
There you go.
And that one moment, I remember, gosh, working with Tom, our MD. I think that my favorite part of it was when Jerry says the word space, it's held, and I was like, I want to let that kind of like quite literally go into like the ethos, like and let it out, and it was really fun. I'm so grateful.
Right, and
Thank you.
I really, because I know the song, I pretty much grew up with that song, but I never heard anybody really phrase it that way, and that was part of what I liked about it, the way you just held certain notes, and it was a different approach to it. I just thought it was great.
I appreciate that.
What's it like doing a role for you and being embedded in that role and living that role? And I understand, after being around theater my entire life, how no matter where you are, no matter what level you are immersed in that role.
Yeah.
So you're living that role. What's it like when that final curtain comes down and now you're not doing that anymore? Is that hard to walk away from?
Yes and no. Jerry was a relief to walk away from, because after a while,
well, he was exhausting.
it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Especially the Act 2 stuff, because you're also dealing with like playing somebody who had extreme mental health issues. So like you're also trying to toe that line of making sure that you're being respectful and not providing like a weird stereotype or a cartoon character of somebody struggling with mental health. And I'll never forget though, after I got through the hospital scene, then I was like, okay, let's play. And so to go into Pleasant Valley Sunday,
Right.
then I was like, fine, give it everything, if I would, make sure that the voice was warmed back up. And it was hard though to say good. That was hard for me to say goodbye to that show. I remember I told Christine, I was like, from the get-go though, I was like, look, like my role in this is to do whatever I can to like elevate and raise you up, raise up the work that you're doing. She just was like otherworldly in that show. And I remember the Zoom call when they had offered me the role. I'm like, whatever I can do for you, like that's my goal.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say.
It's true though, but that was hard to say goodbye to that, and the company to say goodbye to those people.
Right. It was really a good company.
Yeah.
Everybody did their very, very best, and they brought it.
Our core group, our four.
Oh yeah.
The way we still keep in touch, and we'll go to events or like. Even look at Christina and I, like we'll show up to each other's events, and it's just I just told her, I was like, this was a friendship that I had not expected.
Well, that was my next question. Did you know each other prior to this, or did you meet on that?
Very little. Like we knew of each other, and I don't remember if we had done an NFAP show together. I don't think so.
Okay.
Matt Merrick, I knew him. He actually worked at the mall with me at a different store, but again, we had never done theater together.
Right.
And so I knew of these people. So certainly, like when they said, here's who's playing who, I'm like, yep. But
And Adriana Yates?
Adriana, I knew.
You knew her?
Yes, we did theater, but not to the extent. Like we just got dinner together a couple of weeks ago, and like, well, we weren't getting dinner together 20 years ago, and now we text each other every week. How are you? What's going on? What do you need? When do you want to get together?
There was an element of authenticity between those four cast members. Now, I'm not discounting anything that anybody else did in the cast around you, but we're just focusing in on the four leads. And you could literally see that there was that mutual admiration for each other, that mutual respect for each other. You guys were having fun, and you could see that everybody enjoyed being there with each other. And you don't see that all the time.
No, and what I loved in particular was that like we would always notice that like when we weren't on stage, but the others were doing their moment, we were all just watching in the wings. Like it was never like I'm going to my dressing room, I'm going to sit for the next 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or because you know if we wanted to, we really could have taken a break and not been. And even at the end of Act 1, after Jerry's like, hey, I want to open this up to somebody else, I remember I would still stay in the wings and try to provide what I could to Christina. And you know, or when we would watch other, it was just the most, there was such a camaraderie there.
Yeah. And it was genuine too. That's the whole point.
1000%.
People pick up on that stuff. So, outside of singing on stage, did you ever perform with a group, live music anywhere?
No.
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 So maybe that's the next horizon.
Listen, I like that style. Yeah, that era of music, I do like to sing. The 50s and 60s. It feels like it. You know, certain genres are like, no, that's not me. That one sits well in the voice, so that's why. That was a breeze to sing nightly.
Well, you did have the benefit of having one of the greatest composers of pop music writing that music.
Yeah, no big deal.
Right?
Right? Like not. Yes, we were fortunate.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this? We'll break for our first break here. Pay some bills. Hear a word from our sponsor, right?
Sure.
Make Wellness, natural peptides for health, and then we'll come back and we'll get into the other side of Jimmy Moses.
Sounds good.
Make Wellness products are formulated and designed to work in harmony with your body to boost energy, enhance focus, optimize metabolism, and support muscle recovery. Whether you're looking to sharpen your mind, fuel your workouts, or achieve lasting wellness, Make Wellness supplements provide targeted solutions backed by science and clean ingredients.
Welcome back to Local Spin. Jimmy Moses is the guest today. So as we laid out at the very, very top of the show, I like to say that this is where we go into the minds of Western New York's most creative visionaries. And I said, you're a true visionary. So not only are you an educator, you're a theater actor, you're a singer, but you're also a medium.
Sure am.
And you go by the Stage Door Medium.
Yeah.
And the website stagedoormedium.com, right?
Yes.
So
correct.
if folks want to see what you're doing after they listen to this, if they're unfamiliar with you, they can just go to that.
Yeah, that's the best place to start.
So let's start with defining what a medium is, what a medium actually does, and how you got into that.
Yeah, great question. So I always like, because I think there's so many different avenues. So medium, plain and simple, is any person who has the ability to talk with our loved ones who have crossed over. So people who are no longer alive. Psychics are people who are able to utilize past, present, and can read on future energy. I always say a medium, all mediums are psychics. Not all psychics are mediums. So you might have somebody that, I hear of it happening so often, like somebody might be working in massage, and they're like, hey, I'm supposed to share a message with you, but I would say that would be more of a psychic tendency. Mediums would be the way we're getting that information would be from your loved ones that have crossed over. And in terms of how I got into it, gosh, it was if you would have told me even 15 years ago, because I think this is year 13, I would not have believed it.
Was it something that you stumbled on by accident? Did you try to do this?
No.
One day you woke up and all of a sudden...
Great question. Accident, for sure.
Accident, okay.
As a kid, I would know a lot of things before they would happen, or I would know bits and pieces about... My dad's parents passed away when he was, I think, 5 and then 9. And so obviously I had never met them. And I would know things about family members. But again, as a kid, you just chalk it up to imagination. You chalk it up to, I have a busy brain. And so it wasn't until, gosh, I want to say early college, I had been read by a medium. And she was like, you're supposed to be doing this. And to me, it felt very much like the exit through the gift shop type of pitch of like where we can train you for a lot of money. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much, but I'm good. And then it happened again a year later. I was there had been like a psychic medium party. I was thrown in. I received a reading, and the woman's like, you're supposed to be doing this, and she goes,
Well,
this
isn't
is...
that what somebody told you prior?
Yes.
It's almost the exact same statement.
And she literally said, "This is." She goes, "And this somebody else has told you this too."
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm like, okay, but I'll never forget is I was less quick to dismiss her this medium, and it felt kind of like the light switch that had always been there. I just didn't know that it was there was turned on, and so I trained shortly after. I had a really neat experience where I'll never forget. I was sitting on the couch. My now husband and I were sitting, and I had a book out. He had a book out. I thought it was his phone was going. I heard two people, clear as day, two women speaking, but it sounded like a foreign language. And I kept going, "What are you watching? What music do you have on in the background?" And he kept saying nothing. But he's a bit of a practical joker. And I'm like, finally, I grabbed the phone. I'm like, "Ha!" I'm like, "I got you." I'm like, "I'm gonna prove you're tricking me." And the phone was off. And
you were hearing
yes.
something.
But what's weird is that where I tell people, once you really start to practice, you don't hear like we hear. It kind of sounds like I just shared this recently. Like if I were to tell people at home, like, listen, like think of James Earl Jones, you all probably just heard that voice. That's what it sounds like. But that was a clear as day hearing. And I'll never forget, after I got trained, they said, they're like, when you first start, when you first start realizing you have these abilities, it's like the hearing aid, so to speak, is on like a 20 out of a 10. They want you to know, nope, you're not cuckoo. Pursue this. Keep like learn more about this. So I got trained at 24, I think. Is that about right? Yeah. 24 at Lilydale, which is like the big psychic medium community near Fredonia. Just a 2-day training. And I'll never forget, I had some really yeah.
But before you
Oh,
go
I'm
down
sorry.
that, no, it's okay. So what was the training like?
Yeah, so well, first off, I felt like I remember I clearly felt like I did not fit in, because you had all these people who were, and no offense to them, they were all much older in life, and they all just seemed to have such a Zen lifestyle. And I remember we were in this room, and there were 15 of us, I think. It was very hot in there, and I'm like, where's the air conditioning? And I'll never forget, they all were like, "Well, you cool it with your mind." And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
okay.
Cool
And I'm
this
like,
with your mind.
I'm like, oh, I don't fit in here. And and it's so funny though. Now, if there's a day where I'm like trying to get ready before work and I'm warm, what'll I do? I'll cool it with my mind. So clearly I've now joined the group, but it's 2 days. There were 3 visiting mediums that train you for how to basically open yourself up safely to get messages. Or before that, they called it ground, protect, connect. So it was, okay, I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to root myself to the earth. And then it was the protect. They told you to visualize it. I remember back in the day, like a manhole, like a sewer that you were opening up, and you're like, hey, I'm ready to connect. And I'll never forget, they made me go first. So we had 3 groups of 5 participants, and I was the first to go, and I felt like I was going crazy because no one in the group understood what I was sharing. And then the medium training me, she hit her hand on my shoulder, and I'll never forget, right after everyone said no, I felt the hand squeeze on and I looked, I'm like, "Is this for you?" And by this point, she had been crying, and she was like, that was my
Really?
best friend who had passed away from a car accident. And I was like, well, why is she talking about apologizing about the wedding? And she said that she was supposed to be, this woman who passed, she was supposed to be her maid of honor, and the friend had they had fallen out, and she asked her to no longer be a part of the wedding. And the day of the wedding, she was hit by a car and killed. And so that was one of those moments where, like, again, the hearing aid, 20 out of a 10, where you went home and you were like, wow, like that was powerful. That felt good to help someone.
Is it a process by which you just totally almost like meditate, where you
Yes.
clear your mind of everything, so there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden you're open for messages? Is that
Yeah,
is that
so many
kinda like the
times when you watch it on TV, or more so when you see it in movies, it looks like this. I always think of the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay.
Where it seems like this really bombastic experience, and it's not. It's very quiet. It's very, it's very much going inward. I now, before any reading or live show I do this little thing where, even if there's not a doormat at the theater, or my studio, I wipe my feet at the door, just to go, okay, I'm leaving my garbage outside. It doesn't serve anyone well for me to bring in my own stress. But then when I leave the reading, I wipe my feet again, going, okay, I'm leaving everything that I experienced here. And so for me, it used to take me like a half hour to an hour to really try to quiet my mind. And now I've got it down to about 5 minutes. I always tell people the highest vibration is love. The quickest way to tune into that frequency is to find the most joyous memory we have of somebody that we've lost. So now, especially if it's what's like a 2-show day where I have teaching and then I'm going to do readings at the studio, sometimes that drive is my only time to kind of get into the zone, and I'll start to think of just something or things that I'm grateful for.
Does that make you open to receive more, in your opinion?
Yes.
So it puts you into a different state of mind.
I start to buzz. I can quite literally feel it on my body. And what's so funny is that I could cry talking about this one when I had done Beautiful. Similarly, I knew that I was in the zone to tell that story because I would buzz before going out on stage. And so you figure this was the first time that those two worlds were colliding. I had never practiced as a medium when I was doing theater 17 years ago. So now to go back out and to get ready to tell that story, I would buzz. And I'm like, okay, like whether that was Jerry or whether that was just somebody whose story I could honor that night, but I felt like I was never alone on that stage.
Well, I had the opportunity recently to attend one of your shows, and I really, really felt very lucky to be there. The thing sold out, so congratulations to you. It was a local theater. A lot of people were there, and that was the second time. I believe it was my second time going to see a live show with a medium.
Yeah.
The first one was John Edward.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And the second one was you. Now, I will say that I, along with everybody else, on the way to the show, was thinking, okay, I'd like to hear from so-and-so.
Sure.
I'd like so-and-so to come through. I hope that maybe something will come through and Jimmy will pick it up and say, hey, Lou, guess what? I think this is for you. That's never happened. And I will say that it didn't happen in both of the live shows that I went to for 98% of the people there, maybe 95% of the people.
Yeah.
There's only a few that come through. And you go there, and I'll be honest with you, I thought it was great. It was very, very interesting. It was entertaining. It was engaging. It was intriguing. It was everything that I had anticipated. It was professional and everything. So the bottom line was but then you're like, shoot, my person didn't come through again.
Yeah.
So if you're in the audience on this side of it, right, and you say, well, why the hell didn't my person come through? How come that? And then I'll share with you something else too. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, why? Because I always go home saying, son of a gun.
Yep. Oh, it's such a good question. So I want to start with, I often say, especially, I would imagine it's got to be more difficult for like a Tyler Henry or a John Edward, where like when I saw Tyler Henry about a year ago, there were 5,000 people there. So statistically, your odds are low of getting read. Yeah. I want to say he did 6 as well. And so the way I always say, I'm starting to notice patterns in live shows. And certainly, sometimes people will think, I guess I want to start there, is there a spatial proximity that you have to be to the medium? Is it like Wi-Fi? The answer would be no, because clearly at the show at GJ Mann, the fundraiser, there were people that were in the very back. Mm-hmm. Similarly, there were people in the front, there were people in the back on the side. I find I always say it's a contrast, it's an intensity. Where is there an urgency? So many times, the people that are given the messages, I feel like, and I know it sounds, because I know we all have our needs, but I find that the needs are higher. They're greater for the people that are read. If let's say somebody's mom had passed 20 years ago, for the most part, we're at peace with it. We had a great relationship with mom. I'm still thinking about 2 of the ones from last week's event, where the one was the mom who wanted to talk to her daughter, mm-hmm. And then the one that I'm still really thinking about as well is the daughter who was 6 years old, who passed and wanted to talk to her mom. And to me, they're the most perfect examples of those live shows, because that's why we do what we do, because I sometimes people will go, oh, why do you do this? Like, why talk to the dead? And I'm like, the dead, they're fine. It's us, they know that we get off our journey sometimes, depending on the nature of someone's passing, because not all of them are tied with a bow. Not all are clean and pretty. And I mean, look at the other one, the one had been a murderer. And so I often find, and now don't get me wrong, not all of them are heavy at live shows as well, but I do find at times there is an urgency. So if somebody has just passed, or if there's something where it seems like it takes a priority somehow. Mm-hmm. But then there's other times where like I'll ask them, like, was this recent? They're like, no, this was 10 years ago. And so I don't know either. It's imagine like there being 300 people. If there were 300 people, there were 300 people that wrote in letters. That's how it feels on my body. I'm just kind of opening the letters.
Are you getting bombarded with statements during these types of events?
So because
I would imagine there was all these people there. Everybody wants somebody to come through for them,
and you feel it.
And I could only imagine, because I don't know what you feel, but if you have 300 people in an audience and everybody wants their loved ones to come through, and maybe you always say this one's pushing to the front of the line, stuff like that.
You feel it. You know it. You're going in there going, oh my gosh, like, and it's to understand and to feel that, but then also not internalize that pressure of going, okay, I have to do. It's you have to draw the line to go, okay, I'm gonna get to as many people as I can with as much care and detail as I can, where I would rather have maybe 6 or 7 and they're really quality than 15 and they're just rushed, where we walk away going, oh, I don't know if that was her or not, or I don't know if that was him or not, because it was too brief. So yes, you feel it. The way it feels like to me is like I can always tell, because it feels like I'm watching a memory that's not mine. And so as I start to walk back and forth on the stage, that's very much like the Wi-Fi type of thing, where I'm like, I'm just seeing something right now. And it's so funny. I'm thinking about a couple of the situations. Like at one point I was right over here, and sure enough, that the person that I was supposed to talk to was like directly, or there'll be times where somebody will say, you know what, like, I think that was actually for me, but I was right in front of the person that you were talking to or behind. So there's definitely a geographical thing that my body or my brain or both somehow understand and intuits in that moment. But it's funny. I the more and more I do the live shows, it's because they don't happen as often. You might only have 3 or 4 a year. That's a whole different beast than doing private readings. And so I'm still learning. I think at this point I've done maybe 15 or 20 of them. But there's no same day at the office, so to speak.
How close is it for you to? I'll use a catchphrase.
Yeah.
I see dead people. The Sixth Sense, the movie. I mean, how close is it to that?
Not at all.
It's not like that at all. So it doesn't work that way whatsoever.
No.
Does it work for some people that way?
I don't know. I can't speak for all mediums. Because so much of it is a subjective experience. So, like, for example,
because it seems like you're trying to interpret a lot of things too.
Yes. So I always say it's kind of like we're playing a really, really intense live game of Pictionary, and so depending on the medium's ability or their specialty. So mine is clear hearing, mine is clear sight, and clear feeling on my body. You might have somebody else that they utilize other abilities. So for me, oh my gosh, I just blanked on the question. What was, refresh my memory? What was the wording?
We were talking about the Sixth Sense, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
How maybe for some people it could be like that, but you're saying you don't get it that way.
Listen, I'm probably going to piss off some people, but I also feel like there's some mediums that I know that thrive on the attention factor and the attention aspect of, like, we want it to sound really like woo-woo and trippy, and maybe that is how they view it, but like the mediums that I know, we've never experienced it that way, where it's very much like I have to actively like connect. When people are like, oh, you can never turn it off, that is, in my experience, it's not true.
It seems like you have to turn it on.
You have to turn it on.
Well, how could you get through life if you right?
I think we glorify overwork. I always say in American culture, we glorify overworking. So I think there's a tendency to say, oh, you can't turn it off no matter what that is not true. They will always respect your off hours. You know, if I'm going to, like tonight, we're going to the movies, like, they're not going to be trying to bug me. You know, if I'm at the movies, they know when. I always say I make it very clear when I go into the studio or when we're at a theater. I'm like, okay, I'm here to serve. I'm here to work. Please, like, I'm excited to do the work. You let me know what you need me to do, and then when I'm done, I'm like, okay, thank you. Thank you for that experience.
Well, I would imagine you would need some sort of process, or you'd drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, you have to.
Okay, so you know what? This is a perfect spot to take our second break of the show, and we'll go pay some more bills, and we'll come back and finish up the conversation.
Make Wellness products are formulated and designed to work in harmony with your body to boost energy, enhance focus, optimize metabolism, and support muscle recovery. Whether you're looking to sharpen your mind, fuel your workouts, or achieve lasting wellness, Make Wellness supplements provide targeted solutions backed by science and clean ingredients.
All right, welcome back, Talking with Jimmy Moses. Now, I'm going to share something with you that I don't think you know unless you talk to Christina, and Christina told you.
Okay.
Somewhat related, right? All mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums.
Correct.
And people who could, let's say, look into the future may be psychic, but they may not be a medium.
Yes.
Okay. My mom read tarot cards, and she was extremely good at it. People would come all over, and she didn't want to do it. She did not want to do it, and people would literally force her to do it. And I remember over my lifetime, she read my cards, and there were 2 times where she read my cards, which she told me things were going to happen that there was no way in hell she knew.
Yeah.
It was almost an impossibility. One in particular was that I had a band instructor who was let go from the music department at school because they cut back on the department.
Sure.
And don't worry, he's going to be your teacher again. I don't know where, it's not going to be here, but how could that be? The guy was from Ohio. Don't you know in 18 months he winds up teaching at a college in Buffalo? He calls me out of the middle of nowhere and says, hey, I'm putting a jazz band together. You want to play?
No way.
Honest to good. So that was one thing. And then she unfortunately saw 2 of my friends that passed away. And then the last time she read for me was the last time I think she read at all, because I think she saw my dad dying.
Sure.
And he died at 57. I saw the expression on her face. Now, I saw an expression that I never saw on her face. She says, this can't be right. This is not right. Here, and she went like this and mixed all the cards together. Yep. And she says, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. She says, here, do them again. Do them again. And then I did them again. She says, Dad, we're done. We're done. We're not going to do this anymore. And it wasn't long after that. I would say within maybe 3 years or so, he had a massive heart attack and he passed away. So it's not like me to look at somebody such as yourself who is a medium and say, listen, I'm getting these messages and I'm telling you what these people are telling me. Sure. to discount that. And it's not like me to look at somebody who reads tarot cards and question them, because I lived through it with my mom. Yeah. And I don't know if you know this or not, but that was passed on to Christina, and she actually can read tarot cards. She probably didn't tell you, did she?
She only just mentioned it to me. We
Yeah.
were talking about something, and she just mentioned that she was like, well, I have her set of cards, but that's all I know about it.
Yeah, and Christina actually is very good at it. If she ever sharpens
Did she teach her? Did she?
No, she did not. I think it's innate, and it was passed down. Wow. But that being said, okay, so I'm not one of these people that will immediately dismiss someone who says, listen, there's a spiritual world out there, and when people leave, that's where they go, and sometimes you can bridge that gap. Yeah. And I don't discount people saying, hey, I'm reading your cards, and this is what it says. I can't tell you how many things my mother told me were 100% true, and she had no knowledge of it. In 4 or 5 different areas. Anyway, what do you say to the people that say, "Oh yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna read you. Hang on a second. Oh yeah, someone's coming through. Let me see. It's a man. It's a man who used to like to wear button shirts, and I think
Worked
I think
hard.
he had a dog and he worked hard. Does anybody have anybody like that
Worked
out
with
there?
their hands.
Works with their hands, or did this, or he liked dogs. Anybody? Does that sound familiar to anybody? Because there is that aspect when you watch some of these people.
1000%.
They're so vague. It's like, well, of course somebody's going to put their hand. Oh yeah, I knew a guy who wore button-down shirts, and he had a dog.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
not me, but I'm just saying. What do you say to those folks?
Well, anyone should be approaching mediumship with that degree of like, and I think I do the exact same thing because, like, again, I wasn't doing this as a kid. I wasn't doing this. I started at 24. So if you would have told me, I would have said, no, I don't, that's BS. I don't. And so I have such a greater, I think, appreciation and understanding and respect for people who come in skeptical or hesitant. So I always tell them, I send them a little welcome video, 5 minutes, and I will tell them, please only give me yes or no answers to the questions I have. Do not do my work for me. Do not, because I think sometimes you'll see people that will come in and you'll ask one question and then they'll give, and they'll try to, and I will always feel rude, but I'm like, stop. So, I think when you're working with somebody who really does this day in and day out, you're going to be getting very specific, specific pieces. We call it evidential information. And certainly there are the ones that are not good out there as well. But I also think is if we're doing it, it's listen, I know it's not hard to get that amount of detail, but you do really have to trust yourself. You have to trust the loved ones that are coming through. You have to trust your guides that you're working with to go, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but I've found it's those messages that we think are going to sound absolutely bonkers are the ones that always land the most. Do you know what I mean? I remember at the live show last week, they kept showing me cacti, and I'm like, Arizona.
I remember you saying that.
And I was like, well, I feel weird saying this, but I'm just going to say it. Or the other point, they had showed me like a weird faucet or something like that, or something with the pipe. And you're like, well, this sounds insignificant to talk about a weird pipe right now. But sure enough, she was like, no, I know exactly what that is. So you have to trust the process. But I also fully respect people that are coming in nervous or skeptical as well. And then I say, it's not my job to convert you by the end of it, but similar to the theater through line, I always tell my students when I direct, it's not our job to unpack the audience's experience of a show. We're not supposed to tell them what to think of it, and similarly with a reading, you never know. That skeptic, their brain might be 5% or even 1% more open to something, because that's what I won't see. I won't see on the car ride home somebody going, you know what? I thought of it. I've tried to debunk it and I just can't debunk it.
Do you have people coming to you specifically to debunk what you do? I wouldn't think you would, because I would think that most people that would come and say, hey, I want a private reading, they have to believe in your process and what you say you can do.
Yeah.
And I can't believe there are too many people that are coming and say, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong.
No, it's rare. I think also, too, if anything, you might see more of that at a live show where the ticket might only be $25 or $30, and so it's more accessible. And somebody's like, "Sure, I'll go as a skeptic." But private readings, no, it's very much like the folks that are coming are like, "I already believe, or I have some sense of, now let's dive in. Let's get to work." And I don't know. And I always say I have the nicest clients. I've never had anyone that's really been, in 13 years, I've never had anyone that's been nasty or that's been...
You ever repeat clients, or is it...
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about that. Let's suppose you have a client and they come and see you in January. Do they come back in August or like a year later? What's that like?
I tell them no more than twice a year.
Okay.
Because if you're trying to come earlier than that, then you're looking for a playbook on how to do everything. You know, you're looking for, or I'll tell people you might be in need more of traditional therapy, depending on how you're grieving. You know, you might be looking, and the way I view the work, it's so sacred to me that I never want it to feel pedestrian of like, here we are again next Tuesday doing, you know, and so I tell people, wait a little bit, you know, let some of the messages, unpack some of them. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, something you just said just triggered something in my mind. For as long as I've been following mediums, the message seems to be pretty consistent. They want you to know that they're okay where they are and everything is okay.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. I've heard that over and over and over. And it seems like an underlying theme, if not, it's probably the most common message.
Yeah.
That I hear. I don't hear things like, well, to be honest with you, I'm not having a good time over here.
Or it's hot where I am.
Yeah, right? You know, I'm stepping on these spikes. You know,
Exactly, like
right?
Dante.
I never hear that.
No.
And
I've never encountered anything in my time doing this that's made me go, huh, I think there's some, you know, or we're not okay.
does
where we
that
are.
ever come through?
I've never seen that.
Have you heard about it from people in your circles?
I-
Where all of a sudden there's somebody's coming through, and let's suppose it's somebody who is really, really not a good person, and they're
Great
not a
question.
good spirit anymore.
I'm a firm believer that, so how it appears to me is and I think, I can't speak for all mediums and I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I think if you're newer to this and you're training, I think that's where some people get it wrong, is that this person will be coming through to acknowledge the fact that they weren't a good person when they were alive. But our brain goes, wait, bad person, because it's a feeling that comes over my body of, I feel kind of icky. If that happens and then they show me a little Hallmark card, that means like I'm coming to apologize. But I think where mediums might get it wrong, if they're newer, would be, they're a bad energy, I can't talk to them. Because and that same medium might have been somebody that grew up watching a lot of horror movies or a lot of movies that like that perpetuate that stereotype.
So you're telling me in all of the thousands?
Yeah.
In all the 1,000 readings that you've done, you've never once experienced an energy that came from a bad place, if we want to just call it a bad place.
Correct.
A demon type of...
No.
Never. It's always from the light, never from the dark.
But what I will say, what's really beautiful is that, let's say they weren't a good person and they really like, so I find from what they've shown me is that I think that we all have roles in spirit. We all have jobs that further our soul growth, so to speak. And so many times I find that the soul growth is tied to something that they might not have figured out or accomplished when they were here. So recently I had read one that gave me pause, and it was somebody who came through and they made it very clear and in you know, no uncertain terms that they were wildly racist while they were alive. And they told me, they're like, what I do now here is I cross over people of color who passed tragically, and that's part of their soul's journey. So I do believe that we have roles, we have responsibilities in spirit, but I think we grow over there as well, just not at the rate that we do here because of, you know, we have our ego, we have our challenges, we have conflict, where there's not conflict over there. At least from what I've been shown, I've never encountered conflict. So that's the best way. But I've never, ever left a reading where I've felt icky.
Do you refer to them as spirits?
Spirit, yeah.
Okay. The spirit.
Yep. Sorry, spirit is the general term I use, but yeah, a spirit or a soul that comes through.
Do you consider that spirit entity akin to a ghost?
No. It's so interesting too, because again, I feel like based on the culture, and it's something that I'm still learning too, but like, it's so interesting. I actually learned this because of Disney. I was watching this documentary about the Haunted Mansion, and they were talking about the differences in terms of ghosts in the culture. And so in America, you know, we think of the creaky, you know, mansion and the ghosts that kind of wail through the walls, where they said, and I think it's Chinese culture, ghosts are like the ancestral spirits, like they're honored, they're revered, they're welcomed. And so
Not so much like an apparition.
no, it's very much like a presence that's with them at all times. And so I feel like our American culture really gets it wrong, you know, in terms of ghost stories are popular, you know, they sell, but I've you'll see some of these mediums or ghost hunters, and it's no disrespect to them, but you'll see them go to places that, like Fort Niagara, that they're like, oh my gosh, the war is still happening, like they were still fighting. I have never seen things like that. And so I think there's also a line that people know what sells. People know. I think.
Well, ghost stories have been written since the 1600s.
Yeah.
Even before that, I think.
Look at the, like, I was looking up the history of stories like A Christmas Carol, like those ghost stories, like, and the origins and why they were wildly popular. But so I think we have a real obsession with ghosts in our culture, but it's so interesting, if I can share an example, when somebody will say, look, I think my house is haunted, or I think that there's a ghost here. I often say it's usually they're correct in sensing what they're sensing. They're incorrect in attributing who they attribute it to. So somebody might say, oh my gosh, like the light's flickering, or I'm smelling X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, right. Yes, your mom smoked 5 packs a day, or yes, your mom like had the most playful sense of humor, or did this also just happen? And I'm like, why? Like, and I think if we grew up knowing these ghost stories, or what, our brain wants to go there first rather than going, it's
familiar, right?
Correct.
It's got to be familiar.
Rather than going, this sounds like something that my cousin would have done, or this sounds like something, we go to, the familiar.
Yeah, and the way that you and other mediums present it is completely different than ghost chasers.
Yes.
Or things like that, because you'll listen to, there's all sorts of different stories and shows and topics on the paranormal, and there's good versus bad,
sure,
dark versus the light, right, and all those other things. But when I speak with someone like yourself, that doesn't come into it. That's why I brought it up. It doesn't seem to even be part of it.
It's and again, I can only speak to my experience and my opinion, but those shows boggle my mind because it's such a hard juxtaposition from, especially when you'll get mediums that come on these shows, the ghost shows, and I'm like, how if we know that folks are okay with, like, how it's such a it doesn't really add up to me. Again, to each their own. I can attest to the fact, recently I gotten decently far with some folks from television, and it was wild to see the TV narrative that popped up, and they had a very clear premise. I was good with it. It was really beautiful. But then what do they have to do? They're like, well, where does the conflict come in? And I'm like,
you just don't see it.
I just don't see it. And they're like, well, what about this? Or like, so to see the TV aspect come in and how overly produced these things are, it's just.
I think there's an overreaching
sad
umbrella when it comes to anything in the psychic realm, right?
Sure.
And I think that it goes to demons and devils and possession and religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of intermingling of a lot of different approaches to it.
But what's fascinating to me, Lou, though, is that, like, when I think of mediumship, has taught me more about the commonalities of, like, so many major world religions. It's so funny. I shouldn't say funny, but Halloween, for some odd reason, the month of October, I always tell people it's really clear for me to read that month. It feels like, again, that hearing aid's higher than it's ever been at the other 11 months.
Maybe a lot of awareness energy.
Yes, and
right.
But I do find it interesting that you have All Souls Day, you have All Saints Day, you have Day of the Dead, you have New Orleans voodoo culture that believe. I mean, you have. I want to say I read it. There are like 7 or 8 major religions that all believe that time of year is. And similarly, there's other months or other things as well. So if anything, it's taught me that there's so many parallels between the major world religions and versus us going, well, this is the right one or this is the wrong one. I think there's so many elements of so many of the threads are shared between them.
But the major commonality between the religions, though, is it's good versus evil.
Oh, sure.
Every religion has that,
yep.
Right? And there is that belief that if you are a good person, you go up, and if you're a bad person, you go down.
The elevator goes down.
The elevator goes down. So. Yeah, one of the things that I was always gonna, if anybody were to say, hey, you know what, this is for you, this is so and so, the first question I would ask whoever it was would be, what is it like where you are? What do you see? Is it another realm that looks something like where we are?
Sure.
And how do you differentiate between who you're with? And are you with other people that have passed before you? Have you any sense of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do tell, because I'm dying to know what it looks like on the other
I can
side.
answer these. It's again, from what I've encountered, I love so whenever I'm doing a reading, if they put a hand out, that means look who I'm here with. And so what I love especially is that when you'll get a client that will be like, well, that makes no sense. They didn't know that person. They weren't alive in the same. And I'm like, I know, but isn't that what's really special right now is the fact that like I wouldn't have known this as the medium. And like even more to the point, like, yes, so like recently I had read someone's dad had come through, but they also talked about a baby that had been a miscarriage. And they're like, well, he didn't meet the baby. I'm like, I know. And isn't that beautiful right now is that your dad's saying that he got to meet, your daughter. And so they're taking good care of each other in spirit. In terms of like what goes on over there, I think your mediums really differ. I think from what I understand, the concept of time is certainly different there. But what I feel very strongly about is that there's a sense of purpose in spirit. We still have our jobs, not like we're clocking in on like a 9 to 5 type of basis, but I do think we have a sense of purpose or a role that we have to play. And then it's
as a spirit in the
as a
spirit
spirit.
world?
And then I think we certainly look out for the people in our family.
Is it like a giant white cloud? It's like a constant stage. You're in a
call it
fog.
a beehive. I call it like an energetic. I call it the hive. And so it's kind of like, imagine I call it the hive or like the God energy. Like I personally think we all have like a little fleck of the big creator energy in us, and then when we cross, we all kind of go back to or a better way would be like, let's say there's I don't know 10 billion people in the world, like those 10 billion we're all on the same radio channel. When we cross back over, we all go to channel 1. And so my job as the medium is how do I tune into radio channel 1 as well, and then pick up on what I can get. Mm-hmm. And so I know it's so these are great questions because I feel like they're not asked as often. And so I don't know. They're
it's just coming from a different
me.
place with my own experience, right?
Yep.
Growing up and my mom doing what she did, and then seeing Christina able to do it with a little bit of training, but she's unbelievably accurate. And the funny thing about it is, it wasn't like when she was a little girl, my mother says, Christina, one day these are going to be yours. So after my mom had passed, you have to go through that dreadful experience of like cleaning out everything, which is just heart-wrenching in itself. But so there we are, right? And it's like there's a box of tarot cards, and they were perfectly preserved. I remember my dad made her the little wooden case that she kept them in, wrapped in a purple silk cloth because her favorite color was purple. And how Christina wound up with them, I don't know. Yeah. Those could have gone to my sister or her children, my brother or his children, or me, and my child, right? And they wound up unequivocally just being, here, these are for you type of thing.
Yeah. And
she took them and embraced them wholeheartedly as if she knew one day she was going to get them.
Yep.
So that when I ask some of these questions, it's coming from a place where I'm not one of these people that say, okay, I believe everything that everybody says, but I'm also not one of these people that says, you know what, I don't believe anything you say because anybody can get up there and say, it was somebody who had a dog. Does anybody know anybody who had a dog? You know what I mean? It's not one of those type of things because I've been in situations where people have told me personally about things that they had no knowledge of.
Yeah.
And things happened so many years later, and all of a sudden, it's that light that goes on and says, hang on a second.
Yeah.
This was told to me. They said this was going to happen.
Yep. Yeah. I'm always fascinated, like, even as I taught literature before, I became coordinator for my job. And, especially with Shakespeare and the old Greek, there were always, these people like me, we've existed throughout time. You know what I mean? Like they're called different terms.
Well, you said that just about anyone can
do it.
Right? You can hone the ability. It's just like most things, right?
Because I guarantee you, your listeners, if I were to ask them, like, who here has had a dream and the dreams come true? or who here has like thought of somebody and then the phone rings and like it's all the same thing. It's all the same. I always, especially with the course I teach, the philosophy one, I say like I think in American culture we're very hell bent on it's either this or that, and it's like I think of things as more of a spectrum.
Is anything really this or that?
Yeah,
I mean, we like to think it is.
We like to.
We grow up thinking that things are this and that.
But it's more of like where does this fall on the gradient or on the
Right.
spectrum? And
The
so
gradient's perfect thing.
and so same thing with media.
Nothing is black and white. It's gray, and it goes from this to
There's
this.
so much overlap too. So like my family they got a lot of dreams. So I sometimes when you'll meet people who might have religious reservations about mediumship, which that if that's your faith, I understand that, I respect that, but I'll say it's also so funny that like we'll also then go see Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and Joseph was doing dream analysis. Joseph was dreaming and making sense of these dreams, and so it's all on the spectrum somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one other quick story. Maria and I had just gotten married, and it was back in the days when you're just starting off, so you have nothing, right?
Sure.
And I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. It was hot, and we were in this little tiny house, and we were upstairs, and it was early in the morning, maybe 6 or 7 o'clock, something like that, and the windows were open, right, second floor, because it's so hot, right?
Yep.
It was in the middle of summer, and it was unbelievably just heavy repressive heat. So naturally, you're just out of the covers and you're just trying to sleep and trying to
Cool it with your mind.
Yes, right. I'll never forget it. It was like 6 or 7 o'clock. All of a sudden, I am freezing cold. I wake up. I'm like shivering. I'm so cold. Right, I grab the blankets and I, throw them back over both of us, and I'm like in the bed, and I'm just like shaking.
Yeah.
It's like, how weird is that? So I got up and I didn't think anything about it. I really didn't. And we went downstairs. We were having coffee, and it was on a weekend. And all of a sudden, I get a call, and one of my best friends from college had passed away, and he passed away at whatever time I
You got the
woke
chill.
up, and I had that chill.
Yep.
Again, right? Someone's going to say, oh, yeah, well, it could have been this. It could have been. I'm telling you, I never felt anything like that in my life. And I experienced it. So.
And too, again, to go back to the folks that might say, coincidence, or like, I think they've also had their own experiences that have probably given them pause. Do you know what I mean? And, how much they want to, pursue those, like, oh, wow, I really have to stop and think about that. Or maybe there is more. That's not up to me, but I think we've all had those experiences. Even if they say that they're skeptic, I think we've all had. I mean, certainly I did as a kid. I wouldn't have thought I was going to be a medium in my 30s. But I've had moments where I'm like, like that was interesting. And that's
you just
wild.
shrug them off, right? And just
Yeah.
go on. Well, I wouldn't be me if I didn't say, is anybody standing over my shoulder? You see anybody?
I'll share with you in a little bit, though. There's two things that did come through about. I'd be so curious who this is for in your family. Somebody has to get keys made for something.
Keys, okay. I don't know who that could be for.
It's like an extra. I have more.
Oh, wait a minute. Keys, okay. I know
It's like
what
we have to get a set of keys made or something.
All right. Well, do you want me to tell you what that is
Sure, yes,
before
I
you
do.
tell me the second one?
I sure do.
We are going away next weekend. And before I came, Maria says, now remember, don't forget when you check in to get 4 extra keys made. Did she call you and tell you
She
that?
did not. I promise you.
All right. Well, that's okay. That's for me. Then the keys are for me.
Yeah, I mean, we could.
Man, if I forget these keys, I'm going to be in big trouble.
Well, it's because I kept going keys, because
Room keys for the hotel.
Well, there we go.
We're going to Disney, so we're going to be down there. So, all right, what's next? What else you got?
And listen, so I have to apologize because if I ever look like I'm spacing out behind you, it's not that I'm like bored with the conversation. It means that like I'm multitasking the people that are coming through. So one of the friends, who would have had the more tragic passing then? Can I ask?
Well,
because like while we were talking, I was getting pain on the left side of my head, which is symbol for like more of an unnatural. So anyone that would have had impact to the head?
No. For those 2 individuals, they just both out of the middle of nowhere. One was a lymph node, lymphoma, and the other one just developed cancer out of the middle of nowhere.
It didn't go to the brain though, did it?
That I don't remember.
Okay.
I had another friend who had a spider tumor, and that went to the brain. But he was older. He wasn't young. It was
Okay.
later on in life.
Yeah, it's so hard to say too because like whenever you're in shared spaces, like there could be something for Rich behind us. Like
Yeah.
there's
It's awful
that...
quiet back there today.
He's like taking
Usually he
notes.
chimes in a little bit.
And then who in the family had the smaller dog?
The smaller dog? I had a grandfather who had this little toy
Like we're talking
French
little.
poodle. Yeah.
Like,
and I had a grandmother who had a little tiny dog. So my grandfather's dog was named Pierre, and my grandmother, that was my mother's father had a little French poodle named Pierre, and my father's mother had a little tiny dog. I don't know what it was. It was this big. Her name was Bambi. So,
yeah, like I notice pets as well. So, and it's so interesting too. Like, one other quick thing. Did somebody recently, I don't quite understand this, did somebody recently talk about getting like a different mirror? Or was there something involving like glass of sorts? Like getting windows replaced, getting something involved. This felt more like a mirror.
A mirror? That I don't know.
Okay.
So no one came up to me and said, "Hey, I got to go buy a mirror."
It's so interesting too because like you said earlier, like there's the delay factor where it might, and that's certainly not to say that I can't misunderstand something. I don't claim to know everything, but it's usually the like right church, wrong pew, or it's the phrasal, so here we are thinking, when I mentioned keys, we're thinking maybe traditional keys for a door, not a hotel key.
Right.
And so it's right church, wrong pew. So
Well, listen, if I go home tonight and somebody knocks off the mirror in my car, I'm calling you.
it's a mirror. It's like a decent size. It's like
It's a decent size, big mirror.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep out for it. Hey, listen, this has been fantastic.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome. Thank
it was
you
good
for
to see
having
you
me.
again, and thanks
Good
for
to
all,
see you too.
And congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. Thank you.